Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mangoson here, bringing you another Remnant 2 video. Today I'd like to bring you a build that I've been working on for quite some time called Feed the Void. Now, at any chance that we get, we are going to try to feed the void. Now, this is kind of hard to do as the mod requirements for such a build are quite high. We try to get them as low as possible with using our traits and such, but without further ado, let's go over the star weapon for this build, and that is going to be the one and only Starkiller. Now, the Starkiller is a long gun. At max, it puts out 240, but 240 just isn't enough compared to some of the other guns. Now, it does have an alien rifle. It is an alien rifle that shoots a high-velocity beam, which penetrates enemies, and equipped with a magnifying zoom scope, which we rarely use. Now, the gravity core, I'm going to go over this briefly, but the gravity core shoots out a black hole, and if it connects with a target, it draws other enemies in. Not all enemies kind of stay within that condensed space, so it's kind of a niche thing, so watch out for that. Not all enemies stay in that range. We do combine this with a maxed out Twisted Wounds, as like I said, the Starkiller doesn't put out, and we have ways around making it put out damage, but Twisting Wounds really adds to that. Now, in order to stack on the type of damage that we need for it, we're going to be using a fan favorite called the Zali's Bane, or Zania's Malice. Wow, I messed that up before it popped on the screen. So Zania's Malice, dealing weak spot damage, increases weak spot damage by 10% for 7 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. That's up to 30% for 7 seconds. Keep hitting that weak spot damage to refresh that skill. Now, comparing this to the probability cord, the probability cord increases crit damage by 30%, but we get crit damage ever so often. We don't get weak spot damage. We hit more weak spots than we get crits, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna kind of go over that in the video to help you understand that just a little bit better. Now, weak spots are crit spots, right? But when you end up hitting a crit, the yellow number that pops up on screen is a crit, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you hit a weak spot. So you crit, but you didn't hit the weak spot. Now, when the red numbers pop up on the screen, that is the weak spot. And if it's a really big number, then you know you crit. But if it's just a red number that is lower than what you're used to seeing, then you hit a weak spot, but you didn't crit, right? So if that makes more sense to you, that even though you hit a weak spot, it doesn't always mean that you crit. Right, so you know where their weak spot is now, but the crit chance is varied, right? So we do combine this with the Hunter archetype to get us up there for more crit chance by 5%, and dealing 55 base range, weak spot damage extends the timer, maxed out at 45 seconds. We're using Deadeye to gain that 40% range damage and 15% weak spot damage, and that plus 5% range crit chance. Now, the other perks are there to add on more bang for your buck, but those are the 3 that we're mainly focused on for this build. Now, we go ahead and combine this with the Meridian handgun. It's actually a grenade launcher. It puts out a lot more damage overall. It has a big AoE explosion, and it fires a grenade that explodes on contact, dealing AoE damage within 4 meters. The Screamer is a high-power rocket that deals up to 924 damage within 2 meters, and we did end up combining this with the Harmonizer to feed more into getting that energy back. We do combine this with the Feral Judgment melee weapon. Now, you can use any melee weapon that you want. I just like these as I get into close quarters situations more often than I want to, and it is good, refreshing, or I don't know, satisfying to just take those claws out and just go to town. Combining that with the Shield Breaker, we get a little bit of shield back, so we're not in that much danger. Now, I do not claim for this to be a boss melter. This is by no means just a build you're going to go out there with and be like, oh, there's a boss in front of me, I'm about to mess him up. By no means, but especially on Apocalypse mode, so I'm not claiming that by any means, but it is a good build for the Starkiller. Now, I just want to make you aware that this game mode is on Apocalypse. You can see that in the top right hand corner that I'm fighting this boss on Apocalypse mode. So take that as you will, as you see his health in the background, whatever. I'm going to go over the build as it follows, right? So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Now, we do kick this build off with taking a little bit of bark extract. You can take it or leave it if you want, but it increases our armor by 30. Combine this with the Alchemist. Our concoctions last 100% longer, and so the Liquid Courage grants us 25% increase to all damage and 5% crit chance. We want both of those for the build. Now, the Vial, the Elixir of Life, it creates a 20-second little window for you. If you think you're about to go down, go ahead and pop this, regenerate 5 health over time, and pick yourself up. The Detonation Trigger increases explosion damage by 25%. Explosions apply burning now. Burden of the Destroyer, decrease the ideal range of all firearms by 25%, increase all damage dealt by 15%. The Bright Steel Ring can be getting from Reggie if you kill 15 world bosses, gives the warrior the fastest roll regardless of encumbrance. Dealing weak spot damage with the Zanny's Malice gives us that increased weak spot damage, and the Timekeeper's Jewel is something that I use when I'm walking around the world, but for boss fights I don't really use it for this build. I use the Black Cat Ring instead, so I can stagger out those downs if I want to with the Black Cat Ring and the Elixir of Life. Now, here are my traits that I went ahead and spec'd into, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen now. So go ahead and leave a like on the video if you did like the video. Go ahead and hit the dislike button if you did not like the video, and tell me in the comment section below what you did or didn't like about the video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching and help build up this little Mango Sun Plays channel of variety content, and I will see you in the next one.